Hey everyone, my name is Dorminus, or Dorm for short, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be playing a rather interesting ROM hack of Pokémon Emerald called Inclement Emerald. Right off the bat, things are a bit different. As we can see here, Professor Birch has an Aron? Pretty sure he usually has a Lotad. But anyway, the beginning is pretty much your standard Pokemon opening. Blah blah, Pokemon live with us in harmony, blah blah. I pick my gender, set my name, and we're ready to go. This ROM hack is a difficulty mod that adds in Pokemon from all the games, along with balance changes for those Pokemon. It also adds new items, TMs, and more. I'll be playing the game on the highest difficulty setting, Challenge Mode. In Challenge Mode, the opposing trainers gradually have their teams EV trained on top of scaling to your level. In addition, you can't use items in battle, and the battle type is forced to set, meaning that I can't swap Pokemon when the trainers are sending out their new Pokemon. After going through the intro, we arrive to our house as normal, set the time, and we grab our potion. Oh, it's 10 potions, how generous. Downstairs, we rush to see our dad on TV, but we miss him like always. Mom tells us to introduce ourselves, and this is where we get to see something really cool. May actually lets us choose the generation or region that our starters come from. There's actually some pretty cool changes to these starters, but my favorite starter is Decidueye, so naturally I chose Alola. After that, we go outside to find Birch being attacked by a tiny dog. I pick Rowlet and start our first battle. This fight's pretty simple. I just use Leafage twice for that nice stab boost, and we win easily. So far, so good. We meet Birch back at his lab, and he lets us keep that Rowlet. Bonus points if you get the nickname. Upon receiving our partner Pokemon, Birch asks us to meet up with May on Route 103. On the way, we stop in Old Ale Town. Upon using the Pokemon Center for the first time, we are given a Poke Vial, an item that in this ROM hack lets us fully heal our team outside of battle anywhere in the overworld. Neat. After that, I hit up the Pokemart employee to see what freebie awaits us, and I'm given a Focus Sash. This could be useful. After that little detour, it's up to Route 103 to meet with May and start our first rival battle of the game. This battle is actually very simple as well, but something to note here is that her starter is scaled to mine. And her starter is still from the Hoenn region, rather than being from the same region as mine, albeit the type I'm still weak to. As I said, this fight being the first rival battle is simple. I just use Tackle while taking a random assortment of scratches and growls from her Torchic, and just to be cheeky, I finish off the battle with Leafage. After winning, I head back to the lab and get the National Pokedex. May gives us a whopping 30 Cherish Balls, and we are sent on our way. I take a quick moment to check Rowlet's nature, and it's Bashful. This is a neutral nature, so that's fine I suppose. Mom stops us on our way out, but because we already have the running shoes, what we normally get from her, we instead get the Old Rod. I wonder what we'll get instead of the Old Rod now. Anyway, after that, I make my way through the first few routes pretty uneventfully. All the encounters I run into are grass or bug types, so I hold off on making any additions to the team. After a few more encounters, I decided to take another look at Rowlet's stats. This ROM hack lets you see both IVs and EVs for your Pokemon on the summary screen. All Pokemon are guaranteed 3 perfect IVs in this ROM hack, so my Rowlet has HP, Defense, and Special Defense maxed out. As I was checking out the stats, I noticed that my Pokemon could use Flash and Fly outside of battle without knowing either, which is awesome. The trainers I encountered have slightly stronger Pokemon and more varied teams, but my Rowlet is more than capable of handling it. We get to Petalburg, and it's off to see dear old dad at his gym. As soon as we start talking to him, Wally just shows up and gets more love and respect from our dad than we ever did. Like, seriously, look at this crap. Random kid walks in, boom, here's a Pokemon. Boom, here's a Pokeball. Knock yourself out. Just like in Emerald, we are roped into helping Wally catch his Ralts, which serves as the game's obligatory catching tutorial. I noticed during this encounter that Wally's Ralts is a boy. I wonder if the game will remember that and we'll see a Gallade instead of a Gardevoir later down the road. Anyway, after that, Dad urges us to collect more gym badges and then sends us off. On the next route, I come across a Litleo, a fire type. Nice. I decide to add it to the team, and because I'm not the most creative individual, But anyway, then we get to see a cool new feature of this ROM hack, berry encounters. I go to get these berries and I come across a Burmy. Again, not really wanting a bug type for the team, I defeat it and I move on to Petalburg Woods. Here we come across a few more buffed bug trainers, but nothing too serious. And our Rowlet picks up Razor Leaf. Then comes our first run-in with a member of Team Aqua, one of the evil teams of this generation. This poor guy here just wants to see some shroomish, so we help him out and battle the grunt who's after him. The fight was easily handled by my Rowlet. First up was a Carvana. Even though it has rough skin, our Rowlet can avoid damage with its ability Long Reach. Next up, the grunt sends out a Skrelp, which resists our grass-type moves, so I just work him down with a crit and some stab moves, despite the -1 accuracy from its smokescreen. After the grunt gets flustered and lets us go, we're given the EXP share for our efforts. In this ROM hack, the holder gets 100% of the EXP from fights, making it much more useful in this game. I promptly give the EXP share to my Litleo to help it catch up. Moving on, we come across a few more encounters and trainers, nothing too serious, and our Rowlet hits 16, learning Ominous Wind and becoming a Dartrix. It was at this point when tragedy struck. A few hours later, I had a respectable team going and I was preparing to face Roxanne. Everything was going according to plan. When... I quickly boot the game up again, only to find myself back in Petalburg Woods with just a Dartrix and a Litleo. I'm a little discouraged, losing a couple hours of progress, but I press on and I make my way to the berry shop outside of Petalburg. Again. I get the Wilmer Pail and some berries to start out with. After this, I went behind the shop and I found a Soothe Bell. I figured this will come in handy if we have any friendship evolutions we want to work on. After that, we came across our first double battle. This one is required as I have at least 2 Pokemon, but they're both grass types, and so my team went to work and won easily. After that, I made it to Rustboro and recharged my Pokeball. I decided it was time to make some additions to the team. I know earlier I said I wasn't looking to add bug types to the team, and that's because I was waiting for Nincada. I want Nincada specifically because they buffed Shedinja in this hack, and I want to try it out. After adding them to the team, I came across a Riolu. Riolu isn't anything too special, but Lucario is a really strong Pokemon, and it can Mega Evolve, which is in this ROM hack, so I added them to our team. After catching them, I decided to check out the stats. Our Riolu is naive in nature, which means a buff to speed, but less special defense. Not ideal, but the increased speed is nice. This Riolu has perfect attack, defense, and special defense IVs, so that'll be very nice for us. I also might have forgot to check Nincada's stats. Sorry, buddy. Anyway, with that done, my next step was to add a Pawniard to the team. From my playtime earlier before the game crashed, I had a Pawniard that I had gotten by trading a Gothita to an NPC in Rustboro. I knew where that Gothita could be found, Route 102 in this game, so I went to work looking for one, and here's how that went. During my search, I did come across a Ralts though, and Gardevoir received some nice balancing for both its normal and Mega forms, and since this ROM hack updates Pokemon as they are in Gen 8, I decided to grab Ralts for both the Psychic and Fairy type coverage. After adding her to the team, it was back to the search, and here we go, maybe this is a... nope, it's a Bidoof. Ugh. Even though I was just looking for Gothita, I did come across a Timepole. It looks like Saizoto got some nice buffs, so I decided to add this Pokemon to the team. Plus, the water typing will be nice against the rock types I'd be facing. Looks like this one is a calm nature, so more special defense and less attack. Not exactly what I'm looking for, but since this Timepole only knows special attack moves, it should be fine for now. Despite this, the stats on it aren't horrible, seeing as it has 4 perfect IVs. But after a while, and with these additions, I decided to give up on my search for Gothita and work with what I have. I figured I was as ready as I was gonna be, and I stepped into the first gym. Upon entering, I'm stopped by the NPC at the door. He says he'll provide me advice and we'll work together to become champion. He gives me some fresh waters, which is nice, but since I'm playing on challenge mode, I won't actually be able to use them in battle. But with that out of the way, it's time for our first gym trainer. He leads with the Geodude and I lead with my Riolu since it knows Metal Claw. I outspeed and get the first hit, but it doesn't do great damage. I was concerned. But luckily the AI decided to do... this. Next is Dwebble. Metal Claw worked just fine and even gave me a stat boost. Easy fight. Next up was the double battle. I decided I would avoid it and fight the trainers 1v1. The first one led with a Kabuto. Part water, so it does resist my Metal Claw. Knowing this, I swap into my Ace and use Razor Leaf to clean up. Finally, I come to the last gym trainer. He leads with a Cranidos, and I forgot to swap and or heal, so I quickly pivot into Dartrix, tank a Headbutt, and one-shot with Razor Leaf. Easy, right? Well, next was Arkan, and I learned really quick that Dartrix wasn't exactly the ace I thought she'd be. For some reason I forgot that you can't use items in this difficulty, and kept trying. Anyway, Aerial Ice made quick work of my beloved partner, so I decided to cheese it. I swap into Ralts and use Hypnosis to put the Arkan to sleep and work it down. Unfortunately, Arkan wakes up and wrecks my poor Ralts. I swap into Litleo, despite the type disadvantage. I was hoping to get a burn. Turns out I didn't need it because the Fire Fang was enough to kill. As luck would have it, his last Pokemon was a Shieldon. Perfect. Fire Fang would be normal damage and I could fish for that burn. But once again, I didn't need it. Litleo tanked the rock damage and finished off Shieldon. This fight made me realize I was ill-prepared to win this badge, so I decided to go train some more. I went north to Route 115 and found the land had been changed for this Romhack. I found a cave, did some exploring, and some grinding. In the cave I found a lure ball and the TM for Stealth Rock. After that, I explored town a bit and I found the Cut HM. Turns out in this Romhack it's a Steel-type move. Neat. I teach it to my Nincada, and after some consideration I decided to give Roxanne the old college try. With my new Steel ability and some stronger Pokemon, we challenged the gym leader. She leads with Aron. Ugh. In a panic, I decide to start off with some sand attacks to buy myself some turns to work Aron down since I don't want to waste a turn switching. Aron sets up Stealth Rock turn 1. Not good. But I press on and continue the sand attack. Thankfully, Aron isn't doing much damage. Content that I had done enough accuracy lowering, I go for Absorb when suddenly Roxanne switches Pokemon? She sends out Amora. Despite being weak to grass, the damage is still pretty bad. I decided to use Cut since I knew that would be 4 times effective, but before I could use Cut, Amora outsped, and because of its Refrigerate ability, its echoed voice was Ice-type, which was super effective. Thankfully, Nincada tanked it like a champ and finished off Amora with ease. Next up was Lily. I knew I was in trouble. I figured it would probably use a Grass-type move against me, so I swapped into Dartrix. I was right, and she tanked the Mega Drain, no problem. I decided I would test the waters a bit and see how much damage Razor Leaf would do, knowing it would be partially resisted. Ugh, not much. I anticipated a rock move, but I was surprised when Lily opted for Infestation. The move itself wasn't too bad, but the residual damage was a problem. Not wanting to switch, I decided to press on and just do as much damage as I could. Unfortunately, Lileep had an Oran Berry, restoring itself to about half health. Before I could think of what to do next, Lileep struck a decisive blow. Dartrix survived the Rock Tomb, but her speed was lowered and the infestation was wearing her down. Somehow, despite the reduced speed, Dartrix still outsped, and my only hope was a crit. Sadly, the crit never came and the next Rock Tomb ended my partner Pokemon. To retaliate, I sent out Riolu and outsped to finish Lileep with a Metal Claw. Roxanne's next choice is Tyrant, and this choice is interesting, but not because of the Pokemon itself, but because of the held item I was about to discover. I start off with Metal Claw and only do a little less than half, even though it was super effective. At first I thought it was healing, but the Tyrant actually had a red card. The red card forced a random switch. Sadly, the Pokemon forced out was Litleo. Not good. Litleo did survive the incoming Rock Tomb, but just barely. I was hoping I could outspeed for an attempt to burn, but before I could do anything, the Tyrant ended the fight with a Poison Fang. With few options left, I decided to try and see if Nincada could absorb and survive, but I had forgotten about Stealth Rock. I pressed on anyway. Naturally, this plan didn't pan out, and Tyrant ended Nincada with a bite. I swapped into Time Pole and used Mudshot to take out the Tyrant. That's probably what I should have done in the first place. Anyway, up next was Anorith, Rock Bug type. I didn't really have anything that was super effective, so I just went with Mudshot to see how much damage it would do. This would prove to be my undoing, though. I should have led with Supersonic and then started the Mudshot, but at this point I figured the battle was lost and just wanted to see as much as I could. I realized too late that Supersonic was an option, but thankfully it still landed. Too bad Anorith still managed to use Bug Bite. In a stroke of bad luck, after switching to Riolu, my Metal Claw missed and Anorith still managed to hit in the confusion. After a lucky stat boost and narrowly avoiding the KO from Aqua Jet, Riolu managed to down Anorith. Next up, Roxanne sent back out her Aron. With very low health and no super effective moves, I knew this fight was done. Back against the wall, I used Counter and knowingly sent Riolu to its defeat. With Ralts being my last Pokemon and it being 2-1, I knew my chances were slim. I went with the Hypnosis to hopefully rack up some damage while Aron slept, but it wasn't meant to be. The Hypnosis was a complete miss and Aron one-shot with a super effective Metal Claw. Even though Ralts traced Aron sturdy, the Stealth Rock damage made the ability useless and Ralts fell. First defeat in the books. I took a long hard look at the party and I realized my team could use a couple more levels. Maybe that would make a difference. With renewed determination, I went out into the field to do some grinding. While out there, I came across and caught an Eevee. Having access to all its evolutions in this game, I'm sure he'll come in handy at some point. After doing some training and looking through the docs that came with the Romhack, I saw that I can use the Move Reminder feature of the Pokemon Center. I decided it would probably be in my best interest to have Tympole relearn Bubble, so that maybe I could deal with the Aron a little better. Feeling confident, I tried again, only to hit a literal wall in Roxanne's ace Nose Pass. Defeat number 2. While I was doing a little more training for my next attempt, I remembered that I'd seen some Nidoran in the new grass in Rustboro, and I also remembered that they know how to use Double Kick. I decided my best course of action would be to catch a Nidoran. After some thought, I knew that Litleo wouldn't be able to help much in this gym, so I gave her a break and swapped Nidoran into the party. After giving her an uninspired nickname, my next step was to level her up to level 16, which was not only the level cap, but also the level she evolved into Nidorina. With a much needed stat boost and an even better poison move, I felt confident once more that I could take on Roxanne. Even with Double Kick and better stats, I still found myself falling short of that sweet, sweet victory again, and again, and again. One thing I noticed in Roxanne's strategy was that all her Pokemon had held items. I didn't have much in the way of useful ones, so I just decided to give everyone in my party an Oranberry to hold. With my last-ditch effort in place, I challenged Roxanne one more time. The battle starts off as everyone before it had, Aron first. Double Kick was just shy of bringing Aron down, so Stealth Rock was able to be set up before I could defeat it. With Aron down, Roxanne pivots into her ace, Nose Pass, and boy, this one is a tank. Knowing this, I opt to set up some Tail Whips. In every attempt before, Nose Pass had taken the first turn to set up Sandstorm. For some reason, this time it decided to use Bulldoze first, which surprised me. Nidoran tanked the hit, but suffered a speed loss. Undeterred, I continued to set up Tail Whip. After the second one, I came up with the Galaxy Brain play to swap into Dartrix for free, knowing that Nose Pass was going to go for Bulldoze. My intuition was spot on, and I got myself a free switch. With its defense lowered, I let loose a Razor Leaf, hoping I could get a crit and finish the job. No crit, but Razor Leaf did do some big damage. Unbeknownst to me, however, the Nose Pass was carrying a Berry Juice and negated a huge chunk of my Razor Leaf. To make matters worse, Nose Pass hits a devastating Rock Tomb, nearly knocking out Dartrix and lowering her speed. Even with the healing of an Oranberry, between the Sandstorm damage and the lowered speed, Nose Pass would come out on top. Outspeeding, they land another Rock Tomb. This one's a crit, just to add insult to injury, and it's lights out for Dartrix. Next up for me is Riolo. I start off with a Metal Claw, hoping to either crit or get an attack buff. Sadly, I get neither, but do some decent damage. Nose Pass responds with another Bulldoze, not doing too much damage, but still lowering Riolo's speed. Thankfully the Sandstorm subsides, but with my lowered speed, Nose Pass does get a Fire Punch in before falling to my next Metal Claw, thanks to a much needed crit. At least Riolo didn't get burned in the process. Following Nose Pass, we see Tyrunt take the field. I know what's coming up next, Red Card, and this time I'm ready for it. I purposefully hit with Metal Claw to do some good damage and get the switch. My hope here is that I swap into Ralts because it's fairy, but it wasn't in the cards. Get it? But fuck it. Anyway, Nidorina is forced out. But before I can even think of my next move, Tyrunt still has to attack, and it went with Dragon Tail, which is a move that forces a swap if it hits. So instead, Nincada is dragged out, which, in all honesty, is perfectly fine. I outspeed to land a cut, but it's not quite enough to KO. Nincada tanks a bite, and before I can finish Tyrunt, it manages to go first and land a Poison Fang, which doesn't really do too much. With Tyrunt out of the way, Roxanne opts in for Amora next. Unfortunately, Nincada has taken just too much damage to tank the refrigerated Echo Voice. And before I can use Cut, Nincada falls. Still having some Steel-type moves up my sleeve, I swap back into Riolo, and with a single blow, Amora is no more. But Roxanne isn't done yet. Her next pick is Lileep with its fearsome Mega Drain. I opt for Mega Claw, and it's another crit. It wouldn't be enough to KO, and on top of that, Lileep healed back most of it with their Oranberry and Mega Drain combo, but I press on, just trying to do as much damage as possible. I land one more Metal Claw before falling. I decide to send in Nidorina next, as it doesn't have much HP left, so there wouldn't be too much for Lileep to drain if it comes to that. Thankfully it did not come to that though. Upon switching, Nidorina took some Stealth Rock damage but recovered with its Oranberry. Then she outsped for a super effective Double Kick to send Lileep packing. Lastly was Anorith. 5 down, 1 to go, and it all comes down to this. I went with Double Kick even though I knew its bug typing would help it resist. I just wanted to do as much damage as possible. Anorith responded with Rock Tomb, which Nidorina survived, but her speed suffered as a result. In a last-ditch effort, I opted for Poison Fang to hopefully poison, but Anorith decided to go with Aqua Jet, which I'm pretty sure was super unnecessary. But as luck would have it, that was just what I needed. Since Aqua Jet makes contact, Nidorina's Poison Point ability kicked in, and I got the poison. At this point, I only have one super effective move left in my arsenal, and that's Bubble. So I send out Time Pull, and with the help of poison damage, Anorith goes down in one shot. And with that, I have done it. Roxanne has been defeated, and the first badge is mine. This is only the first gym, and it feels like a tremendous accomplishment. I guess that speaks to the quality of this ROM hack. Even though I struggled, I had fun. If you guys like this video, be sure to give it a like. It helps immensely, and consider subscribing. I plan to play through the whole game, and if you like this, you won't want to miss the rest. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.